On the 26th of December 1991, after 69 years of union, the Soviet Union fell, bringing to an end the Cold War. Why did the Soviet Union collapse? In the late 1980s saw the stagnation in the Soviet Union economy and standard of living of many people living in the Soviet Union. Gorbachev wanted to reform the Soviet Union to improve the economic and the Soviet people's view of the government. Gorbachev wanted to change the Soviet Union for the better, with one of his reforms including stopping the censorship in the Soviet Union of radios and other media. Gorbachev wanted an increased openness and transparency of the Soviet government. Under the reforms, the Soviet media began to expose social and economic problems which the authorities had long denied or covered up, like poor housing, food shortages, alcoholism, widespread pollution, creeping mortality rates, the second-rate position of women, as well as the history of the Soviet Union's state crimes against the people. In 1989, the Russian SFSR, which was the largest constituent republic with half of the population, convened in a newly elected Congress of the People's Deputies, and Boris Yeltsin was elected its chairman. And on the 12th of June 1990, the Congress declared Russian sovereignty over its territory and proceeded to pass laws that attempted to supersede some of the Soviet Union's laws. Many republics of the Soviet Union started legal moves towards potentially declaring sovereignty over their territories. This was possible because of Article 72 of the USSR Constitution, which stated that any constituent republic was free to secede. And on the 7th of April 1990, a law was passed allowing republics to secede if more than 2/3 of its residents voted for it in a referendum. Many held their first free elections in the Soviet era. Some might say the first sign of the Soviet Union coming to an end was when Lithuania declared its independence in 1990, and the first republic to do so. But Gorbachev wasn't going to give up fighting to save the Soviet Union, and in March 1991, he had a referendum for preservation of the Soviet Union. The referendum gave Gorbachev a minor boost. In the summer of 1991, the new Union Treaty, which would have turned the Soviet Union into a much looser union, was agreed upon by 8 republics, potentially saving the Union. Unfortunately for Gorbachev, the day before the signing of the treaty, a coup attempt happened, with hardline members of the government and the KGB who sought to reverse Gorbachev reforms and reinstate the central government's control over the republics. The coup collapsed after 3 days and prevented any saviour of the Soviet Union. After the coup attempt, Gorbachev was effectively seen as powerless and ended any control he might have had over the Soviet Union. Gorbachev could no longer influence events outside of Moscow. The 12 remaining republics continued to discuss a new, increasingly looser model of union. However, by December, all except Russia and Kazakhstan had formally declared independence. During this time, Yeltsin took over what remained of the Soviet government, including the Kremlin in Moscow. The final blow was struck on the 1st of December, when Ukraine, the second most powerful republic, voted overwhelmingly for independence. Ukraine's secession ended any realistic chance of the Soviet Union staying together, even on a limited scale. On the 8th of December 1991, presidents of Russia, Ukraine and Belarus signed the accords, which declared the Soviet Union dissolved and established the Commonwealth of Independent States, or CIS, in its place. And on the 21st of December 1991, representatives of all Soviet republics except Georgia signed protocol which confirmed the accords signed on the 8th of December. And by the 25th of December 1991, Gorbachev resigned as president of the USSR, declaring his office extinct. He turned the powers that had been vested in the presidency over to Yeltsin. That night, the Soviet flag was lowered for the last time, and the Russian flag was raised in its place, following the dissolution of the Soviet Union on the 26th of December 1991. Russia was internationally recognized as its legal successor on the international stage. Russia voluntarily accepted all Soviet foreign debt and claimed overseas Soviet properties as its own, bringing the end of the Union of Socialist Republics after 69 years, with one of the biggest superpowers ever known with its military and economic power, the USSR came to a mostly peaceful end on the 26th December 1991.